An average conversation with my grandmother these days goes something like this. How are you? She replies, there is nothing good in the world, but I must plant potatoes. But in fact, she's been using this phrase, there is nothing good in the world, for the past 20 years. And listening to this conversation as an outsider, you might imagine that my grandmother is some brooding, pessimistic person, but she's not. She's just being Ukrainian. There's nothing good in the world, I must plant potatoes. Fatalism and the acknowledgement of the continuity of life all in one sentence. In the village where my grandmother lives, as is the case in most Ukrainian villages, life is dictated by the agricultural calendar. And the number one event of the year is the planting of potatoes. The idea in the village is to plant your potatoes before your neighbor does. Because neighbors do not judge each other based on their cars, clothes, cell phones, whatever. They judge each other based on how they maintain their gardens and how fast they plant potatoes. If you manage to plant potatoes before your neighbors do, you have a pleasure of calling them up and inquire if they've planted potatoes. Of course, you know perfectly well that they haven't planted potatoes because you can see their gardens from yours. But still, you can call them up and gloat. Usually what happens is that neighbors call you up and announce that they've planted potatoes and you are the laggard. Well, there is something you can do. You can tell them that you've heard that the weather forecast is promising to be bad, so you are sorry that they've planted potatoes so early. Then you give them a chance to panic a little. In other words, the Ukrainian philosophy of life is this: keep calm, plant potatoes, and keep your neighbor on their toes.